My name is Hlamalane Ngwenya, and Hlamalani is the Tsonga word for be surprised, and Ngwenya means crocodile. So I always say that I am full of, surprises. It's a very interesting thing because I grew up in different areas. My father was a priest, so as a priest, you move from one place to another. So I was born in the Eastern Cape, and we moved, when I was a year old, we moved to a place called Malamulele in Limpopo province. We stayed for 4 years, and we moved to Davidton in the East Rand. We stayed for another 4 years. We moved to Bushbuck Ridge. We stayed for another 4 years. We moved to Tembisa. We stayed for another 4 years. We moved to Giyani. Giyani, it's a place in Limpopo province. There we stayed more than 4 years. And that is the place where we'll call it home. And when my parents retired, they went and lived in Bushbuck Ridge. So that is also another place that I call home. So I could say, I grew up in different, parts of, South Africa. 6, we are half dozen. I'm number 6, and I think probably that is where my name comes from. My elder sister, who is late, unfortunately, it's a she. The second one was a she. The third one was a she. Then came my brother, who's number 4. The 5th one was a she. Then when I came, I'm sure my parents were saying, be surprised of so many girls. Wow. And they stopped there.
That's a lot of girls.
Yes, so we have 5 girls and 1 brother. Okay, well, I could have something, but unfortunately, when we talk about grandparents, I was not fortunate enough to know my grandparents, and the reason being that my father, originated from Mozambique, my mother too. So my father came to South Africa when he was about 14, many years ago, and he came, looking for greener pastures, and he went back to Mozambique and married a Mozambican girl and brought her to South Africa. So that's how they actually moved and settled in South Africa. So by the time I was born, my grandparents had passed on. I had never, had an opportunity to see them. I probably saw one grandparent, probably maybe 1 or twice, but I can't really remember. But talking about grandparents, I look at it in a positive sense, is that, as we moved from one place to another, I gained a lot of, grandparents. So not necessarily the grandparents, my paternal and maternal grandparents, but I gained a lot of, grandparents, exactly, yes. So, as a Tsonga child, there are a lot of things that I like. I like proverbs. I like yes. So there is a proverb that we like to say. I don't know how to translate it directly in English, but it says one finger cannot lift a grain or something like that. So yeah. So in Tsonga we say rinti horingwe arinusi hove. What that simple means is that you need others in order to achieve something. So I like that so much. Yes, I love singing. Like I indicated that my parents or my father was a priest. So when your father is a priest, you definitely love singing because you start singing when you are still in your mother's tummy. And we grew up and would be singing and singing to an extent that my elder daughter, her name is Shilombe. Shilombe means someone who sings so well. That is how much I love music. I love different kind of music, but of late there is a song. So my sister, my third born sister, her name is Kensani. She's an artist, she composes, she's so creative. She composes songs for events and all that. So recently she composed a song about me, about my life. That is one of the most, favorite songs that I like because it is so special in the sense that I feel that I am the only person in the world who has a song that sings about your life from A to Z. I've never heard anything like that. So definitely that has to become, my favorite, song.
So is this your theme song? This is your everyday song now?
Yeah, so in my car, even my ringtone, my ringtone, it's, because, it's the lyrics of that song. So she actually composed it when, I was celebrating. It was a surprise song. I was graduating for my PhD and all that. It's such a beautiful song. So my ringtone, it is, you get into my car, I'm listening to the song because it's such a beautiful song. I like the lyrics. Okay, like I said, that my father was a priest, so I could say that I grew up in a Christian family. And not only that, I know there are people who grow up in a Christian family, but as they grow older, they find their own path. My parents are no more. I remain in church. I remain being a Christian. So yes, I believe in God. I believe in Jesus, and I sometimes is this kind of things that you can't even express or explain. But yes, I do believe in God, and I believe I'm a true you know Christian, so to say. Yeah. Yes, no, that's fine. And for me, I've learned to respect diversity. So I will talk about my experience as a child. So my parents never raised us to believe in ancestors and all that. But I know there are people who believe in ancestors. I don't judge them. I think it's different, and everybody has different experiences. So for me, when I'm in trouble, I kneel down and pray. When I'm happy, I kneel down and pray. So that is what my parents had actually raised me to believe. Even when we were, when we had babies and all that, we never really practiced any ritual or whatsoever. I've never practiced any ritual, whether it's, with babies and all that. We just don't know. I wouldn't even know which other ritual I could actually practice, except for the Christianity that I have been raised to believe. But again, I respect diversity. I respect what other people believe and all that. Yeah. Well, for me, the garden age, I will say, okay, fine, my parents are watching over me and whatnot, but it's not something that I will, so I think my guardian angel will always be linked to, the Christianity and all that. But I still believe that, the spirit of my parents, is actually there guiding me and all that. But my my guardian angel will be linked to God himself. I love that. As an African, I indicated that my surname is Ngwenya. So I actually have four favorite animals. And I will tell you why. So a crocodile, by default, is my favorite animal because I am Ngwenya. So I am Ngwenya, the crocodile. So I have to love the crocodile. But also, I have an elephant as my other favorite animal because my mother is Ndlovu, and Ndlovu means elephant. So yes, so elephant, I love elephants and all that. When I was younger, I was very thin and tall, with a very elongated neck. And some children used to tease me, they used to tease me, you look like a giraffe. At that time, it used to bother me, how can they think I'm a giraffe? But as I grew older and began to study, the life of a giraffe, I'm like, that is my inspiration. So giraffe is another animal that I like. I always say I'm inspired by the giraffe. It's elegant when it walks. So I take a lot of inspiration from the giraffe. It eats from the top. That's what I would like to believe, that I eat from the top where no one else can actually reach, Then the last animal that I like so much is a zebra. A zebra became my favorite animal because my children are mixed race. Yes. So I have, they're half Germans. So we used to play around with their dad when I was pregnant with my first daughter. And we would play around and say, what if she comes out like looking like a zebra, like black and white, like a zebra, So we were teasing. And since then, that's how I call my children. I call them the zebras because they are black and white. And so I call them my little zebras. and we love zebras. So zebra has become an additional favorite animal in my my space. Okay, so well, I love the Bible, of course, but there is a book, I know, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Yes, that book, I love it so much because it taught me a lot of things. But another one that was my favorite, it's not a big one, but it has a lot of impact in my life. It's Who Moved My Cheese? Very small, short, but the message in that book, even today, I actually get, some of the messages that helped me in what I do. Who moved my cheese? Or whose cheese can I move? And things like that, yeah. Yes.
Favorite meal?
Meal. Ooh. Do you really want me to tell you my favorite meal?
Yes.
Mopani worms.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Ooh. Ooh. I love mopani worms. Even now that I'm talking about it, I'm kind of salivating. Mopani worms. I love mopani worms.
Okay.
I love mopani worms.
How?
Yes.
Just like anyhow?
Hmm?
Is it like a specific Tonga way or just anyhow?
Yes, no. I mean, that is a Tsonga, that a lot of, Tsonga people really eat that. But funny enough, because when I grew up, my father was very picky. So we didn't eat mopani worms at home. We only ate, beef and fish and chicken and nothing else. No pork, nothing and whatnot. But as I grew older, I just fell in love with mopani worms. I love it. So that will be my favorite meal. Yes. Then the other favorite meal that I like, and my children like it as well, it's a German dish called Spätzle. Yes, it's a beautiful dish because I learned that from my mother-in-law. When we visited, okay, so yeah, I was married to a German, so we'll visit my mother-in-law. She will always prepare that dish all the time for my children. Then I learned how to prepare it, and I think I prepare it very well. Better than maybe some of Germans themselves. Yeah. So it's like it's like pasta, but you make it yourself. With flour. Yeah.
Okay,
So that is
a little bit like gnocchi.
Yeah, but no, it looks like spaghetti.
Oh.
Yeah, it really looks like spaghetti. So you take flour and you mix with eggs, and you have a special tool that you use to then you boil it a little bit and stuff. Yeah, so that is also the favorite meal that my children like.
Favorite game growing up?
Ooh, I remember growing up, we'll do a lot of games. We had a game called Tinketo. You will have stones and you kind of you throw, and that one I liked so much. And we will play other games like bati. I don't know, these games they don't exactly exist in the western space, so where you throw like tins and cans and all that and whatever. But Tinketo, I liked it so much because it teaches you coordination, because you have to throw it up and you take, you put back, you throw out, and you take and put back. Yeah. Yes, so I liked it so much. At some point I will be teaching my kids how to play that game. Yes. Okay, so my weakness, my biggest weakness, it's music. It's singing. Like I said, I probably learned music from a very early age. So I love music so much, and I love singing so much. So, currently the kind of work that I do, I facilitate and moderate. You'll find me actually singing, sometimes even getting people to sing along. I love it so much. Like I said, that my elder daughter's name is actually Shilombe, which means someone who sings so well. So I'll be moderating things around, climate change, and I'll compose a song, climate change is real, things like that. But beyond that, I like poetry. Recently, I've started, writing, poems, and it actually helps me a lot because when I'm feeling sad, I can actually let it out, through poetry. When I'm happy, I can actually express how I feel through poetry. When I'm sad, I actually express myself, through poetry. So yeah, singing and poetry, it's something that I like, a lot.
What movie couple? When will you publish?
My poems very soon. Actually, I've already compiled maybe more than 50 poems, and yes, and they are classified into different groups, or classifications. So I have poems that speaks about, my origin. Remember, I spoke a little bit about my favorite animals. So I actually have a poem called, I am Ngwenya, and the other one, carrying an elephant blood, is a poem. Inspired by a giraffe is a poem. But also I have a poem called Raising Zebras, because I'm raising, my kids and stuff. But also I had poems that speaks about my life in general, successes, pain, how I express that, and how I challenge, certain things and all that. So that is really, really my creative outlet, if I were to say, yeah. Life in general, I've been very fortunate to be traveling a lot. So under normal circumstances, when we are not, in a COVID, setup and lockdown, I get to travel abroad on average every 6 weeks. So I have done work in many countries, and what inspires me is just, seeing the world as I travel and meet people. I get inspired by what they do. I like to see the differences that we have. And that on its own, people's challenges, people's successes, I get a lot of, inspiration from that. And just, to be with people in general, and different people from different levels, very successful people, or people who are really struggling and trying to make a living and all that. I learn to appreciate and learn from each one of them. So that really, really inspires me a lot, yeah. I have a very interesting, career path, because what I started is not where I am now. I started as a home economics teacher. I always loved teaching. So even when I was young, when you asked me, what do you want to do? I knew that I wanted to be a teacher. So I started home economics then went on and taught at the high school level. I taught at an agricultural high school, but I had also a lot of, passion in education and studying, because I remember my parents told me that, and I actually went to school when I was 5, where I actually took myself to school. So I will say that, learning and education had always been important. So when I had my junior degree, I continued to study further. And as much as I was learning home economics, I was more interested in the nutrition part of it. So I studied community nutrition, yes, for my honors degree and also at master level. So with community nutrition, then it brought me closer to the community. So I left, the high school, and I went to a college of agriculture. So that was the closest that I had with agriculture. Even then I was there, I didn't teach anything related to agriculture, but it was more, on community based, issues and all that. And fast forward, then I started, gaining experience and started to teach agriculture extension. And 25 years later, or 28 years later, I'm working in the agricultural sector. Actually, I've been working in this sector for over, 25 years now. And I always say I came into the sector through the back door, because I didn't come through studying agriculture per se. But here am I, 25 years later, I work in the sector, I promote the sector, and I always say I'm doing a perfect job within the agricultural sector. So this is where I am working. Yes, I say I'm doing a perfect job, not because what I'm doing is perfect, but because I have found my niche, or perfect niche, within the sector. Like I said, that I never studied agriculture. So under normal circumstances, there's no way that I would have imagined myself working in the agricultural sector if I had not really come through the back door and begin to experience how the sector and what the sector can offer. So I work a lot in the policy space, in the agriculture policy space, at national level, at regional level, continental level, up to the global level. Like I said, that I'm a trained teacher, so I also work a lot within the education space in the agricultural sector, agriculture education. Like even now, I'm a lecturer at the University of Free State. So that is education. I've worked a lot, with researchers, agricultural research. The farmers themselves, also the finance element. But like I said, that I taught, agriculture extension and advisory services. At some point, I taught communications for development. So there is a C there. Then I work a lot, with people within the trade, agricultural trade, but also technologies and, So that offers a perfect opportunity within the agricultural sector. So I use PERFECT as an acronym for policies, education, research, farming finance, extension and advisory services, communications, and issues of trade and technology. So what I'm advocating for is that you don't necessarily have to like farming, but it's possible for you to find your niche along the perfect contour. So each of the latter can actually open up opportunities within the agricultural sector, and I am a living proof of that. I would define success in a different way. I know a lot of people, I think, okay, it also depends on what is important for you. There are people who will define success from the financial or economic gain. You make a lot of money, then you are successful. Do I want money? Of course. Otherwise, I wouldn't be working so hard. I do want money. But do I define success based on the amount of money I have? For me, not necessarily.